Welcome to Next Gen Manufacturing. Today, we're diving into a technology that's, well, it's probably in your hand right now, or on your desk, or maybe in your car, and you've likely never even thought about it. We're talking about how you make one single object out of many different materials.
I mean, just think about the handle of a modern toothbrush, or the grip on your power drill. You've got that hard, rigid core, but then there's that soft, grippy overlay. And it feels like one solid piece, right? There's no glue, no seams, no signs of assembly. So how in the world do they do that? It's a really cool manufacturing puzzle.
And the answer, the really elegant solution to that puzzle, is something called multi-material injection molding. It's a process that lets you create these complex, integrated parts in one single, super efficient operation. You get a finished product straight out of the machine. So let's break down exactly how it all works.
Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into why you'd even want to combine materials in the first place. Then, we'll explore the two main ways they pull it off, the multi-material method and the sandwich method. After that, we'll take a peek at the incredible machines and clever molds that make it all possible. And finally, we'll talk about what this means for the next generation of stuff we use every day.
So, let's kick things off with the big question. Why? Why go through all this trouble? Well, it all boils down to the tough demands of modern product design.
There are really four main drivers here. First up, aesthetics. You know those slick, multicolored car tail lights? A lot of those are made in one shot with this tech. Second is function. That's our classic toothbrush example, a hard structure for strength and a soft material for a comfy grip. Third, performance. Imagine molding a perfect waterproof gasket right onto a casing. No leaks, perfect seal. And finally, and this one is a huge deal for manufacturers, it's just pure efficiency. Instead of making two separate parts and paying someone to snap or glue them together, you get one finished piece right out of the mold. It saves time, it saves money, and it gets rid of steps where things can go wrong.
Now, this technology basically splits into two main families. Over on the left, you have what we'll call the multi-material method, sometimes called overmolding. This is what you use to create distinct zones of material, just like that screwdriver handle. And on the right, you've got the sandwich method. And yep, it's just what it sounds like. It creates a layered part with an outer skin and an inner core, and each layer does a different job. Let's dig into that multi-material method first.
So, this first approach is all about building an object in sequence, but doing it so incredibly fast and precisely that it all happens in just one machine cycle. It's pretty amazing. So here's how it goes down. In concept, it's brilliantly simple. First, a shot of the first material, let's call it material A, is injected to create the base part, or the insert. But here's the magic. Without ever leaving the machine, that freshly made part is instantly moved to a second, slightly different cavity in the mold. Then, bam, the second material is injected right on top of it, where it fuses both chemically and mechanically to the first. And in just a matter of seconds, you've got a finished piece.
Let that sink in for a second. The crucial idea here is that the first part you make becomes a part of the tool. It literally becomes the mold for the second injection. It is an unbelievably clever and efficient way to build complex things without ever needing an assembly line. Okay, let's switch gears and look at the second major approach, the sandwich method. Now, this isn't about putting materials next to each other. This is all about creating layers. Just like it sounds, sandwich injection is a process where one material, the core, gets completely wrapped up inside another material, the skin. You end up with one solid part, but its guts are completely different from its outside. And the strategy here is just so smart. You use the expensive, high-performance plastic only where you really need it, on the outside, the skin that people see and touch. That skin can give you a glossy finish, a specific color, or protect the part from chemicals. But then, for the hidden core, you can get creative. You could use a cheaper recycled plastic to save a ton of money, or maybe a foamed material to make the part super lightweight, or even a polymer packed with glass fibers for incredible strength. You really get the best of both worlds, all in one part. So we get the what and the why, but how is this stuff actually made? I mean, what does the hardware look like? Well, it takes some seriously impressive engineering. So the heart of the system is a specialized injection molding machine. A standard machine just has one barrel to shoot one kind of plastic. These workhorses have two or more, and they can be arranged in different ways, side by side in an L shape, even vertically. But honestly, the real genius isn't just the machine, it's inside the mold itself. Okay, check this out. One of the most common solutions is the rotary mold. After the first material gets injected, one whole half of the mold just rotates 180 degrees. This move perfectly positions that brand new part into the second cavity, all ready for the next shot of plastic. It's like a tiny automated assembly line doing a little dance inside a giant block of steel.
And here's another brilliant trick, the sliding table. So instead of rotating, a plate holding the part just slides sideways, lining it up perfectly with the second cavity. Both of these are just these elegant, super fast mechanical solutions that make this kind of high-volume manufacturing even possible.
All right, let's bring this all home. We've seen the methods, we've seen the machines. Now, what does it really take to get it right? And what does this all mean for the products we use every single day?
I mean, this has to be the question on your mind, right? You're shooting super hot, high-pressure molten plastic onto another piece of plastic that's, well, it's still hot and kind of soft itself. It must be this incredibly delicate dance of chemistry and physics to make sure you get a perfect part and not just a melted, useless blob.
And you're right. Success here comes down to getting a really precise recipe just right. First, your materials have to be compatible. They need to actually want to bond together. Second, temperature control is everything. Too hot, and you'll warp the first part. Too cold, and they won't stick together at all. Third, for sandwich molding, viscosity, basically how easily the plastic flows, is critical. The core material has to flow easier than the skin, or it'll literally burst through the outer layer. And finally, none of this works, absolutely none of it, without a flawlessly designed mold to control every single step. So, let's talk about the cost. All this complexity, it's not free. If you look at a big production run, say 1 million parts, these specialized machines can add anywhere from 19 to 25% of the cost compared to the old-school way of molding and assembling. So you have to wonder, why do it? Well, even though the upfront investment is higher, for a lot of products you eliminate assembly mistakes, you get a higher quality feel, and you create a much more durable part. It's a classic trade-off, a higher initial cost for better long-term value and performance.
And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. This isn't just some tiny incremental improvement. It's a real, undeniable technological leap. It's what allows us to create parts with totally new functions, new textures, and better performance, all in direct response to what the market is asking for.
Which leaves us with one last big thought. We started this whole conversation with a simple toothbrush, but this tech goes so much further. Think about it. If we can seamlessly embed conductive plastics to create integrated circuits, or combine rigid structures with soft sensory materials, or build parts with recycled cores and bioplastic skins, all in one single step, what's the next generation of objects going to look like? What will we design when the old rules about materials just don't apply anymore?